The Plutonian was supposed to be Earth's greatest superhero, but instead he murdered his best friend, killed his teammates, destroyed an entire country, and butchered millions of people. But what made him snap? Our story begins in a quiet little suburb where a little girl is sleeping peacefully with her teddy bear. Her father, Hornet, who is a superhero, comes desperately into her room and grabs her, saying they need to move immediately. The mother was picking up clothes for the baby, but the husband claims they don't have time for this. She needs to listen to him and leave now. Suddenly, the entire house is engulfed in fire and the family panics, not knowing what to do now. The mother and her baby want to open the garage door. Someone shoots them with a powerful energy beam and obliterates them. Only their skeletons remain behind. Hornet takes his daughter and heads into the basement, where there's a secret room, but it's no use. The person who killed his wife finds them. He begs for mercy, asking the man after them not to harm his daughter. She's only a little girl. The man obliterates him as well without showing a single sign of remorse. He then gets down on his knee and whispers in the little girl's ear, saying he's actually a superhero, and then kills her as well. This guy is Plutonian, the most powerful person on the planet. But is he really a superhero? 1 week later, Plutonian is fighting a powerful robot villain who wants to use his nuclear reactor core to blow up the entire city. But Plutonian punches him through the chest and then takes the reactor out, preventing the core from going off. The entire fight was taking place inside a baseball field and the crowd goes wild, cheering his name. Qubit, a member of the superhero team called the Paradigm, is interrogating Samsara, asking him to remember something that happened not so long ago, claiming it's very important. Once the robot villain was defeated, the Paradigm congratulated Plutonian, saying they're big fans of him. Samsara was there as well. The crowds were still cheering his name, but not everyone was ecstatic about superheroes. One guy calls him a pervert in underwear, but Plutonian could hear everything and he wasn't pleased. Samsara told Plutonian about the source of his powers, which is the gem on his forehead. It gives him powers, it protects him from mortal harm, and he regenerates every night. All of them used to be teammates, but Samsara knew him the best, and Gilgamos wants him to continue the story and tell them what happened next. Plutonian continued to fight bad guys and became more popular than ever. He even received a medal from the United Nations for his courage and bravery. Qubit says they all used to be friends, but now he's hunting them down and killing them. He's already killed Hornet, Metalman, and Citadel. Sam tries to remember and give them what they want, but he can't. There's a big scar on the back of his head. Apparently Plutonian did this. He attacked him as well and burned the back of his head with his laser eyes. We see the truth, that Samsara was actually killed and Qubit was talking to him from the grave. But the dead can only say so much. Plutonian did this to his partner and now he's coming after them. But Kaiden says they don't have the slightest idea how to stop him. They know Plutonian's powers, but not his limits. His methods, but not his background. Qubit wants everyone to remember anything personal he ever revealed. Their lives depend on it. Bete Noir remembers he used to have a girlfriend called Alana. She might know something about him. Qubit gives everyone jumpers, bracelets that allow them to teleport if Plutonian's on their trail. These things come in handy pretty fast because the strongest person on the planet finds them and attacks them. Everyone uses the jumpers and makes it out just in time, moments before being obliterated like the others. Kaiden is a superhero with the ability to control ghosts. She uses these ghosts to fight off a group of bank robbers, but she isn't alone. Plutonian comes to help and easily deals with the robbers as if they are nothing. She is thankful for his help in rescuing her, but he refuses to take all the credit. He calls it a quiet assist and wants her to take the credit for apprehending the bad guys. Nobody's going to know. Sky City is now in complete ruins, because 2 weeks ago, Plutonian destroyed in half an hour what took centuries to build. It was the greatest unnatural disaster in history. Millions of lives were lost and reconstruction is pointless. Kaiden finds Plutonian's girlfriend, but she thinks she's here to kill her. Alana was working as a sound engineer the first time she saw Plutonian fighting a villain. He quickly dealt with him and then went outside, where he saw her and decided to introduce himself. He was smitten by her and asked her to dance, even though there was no music and everyone was looking at them. The next day she was famous, but she was a professional and went back to her job. Dan Hartigan, one of her colleagues, had a crush on her and would often hit on her, but she always dodged his advances. The two of them hit it off and became a couple. He was thoughtful and generous, and surprisingly he had quite a few surprises. There were many good times, but the bad times were gut-wrenching. Whenever he had to go up against Modius, she was so scared for him. All of his enemies were frightening to some degree, but Modius was the only one who made him afraid. It turns out that Dan Hartigan was actually Plutonian in disguise. He was doing the whole Clark Kent thing and wanted to surprise her by revealing his identity to her. Instead of being thrilled that her boyfriend was pretending to be someone else, she was disgusted and asked him to back off and stop touching her. She ran inside the radio station and told everyone the truth, that Dan Hartigan is really the Plutonian. He wanted everyone to calm down and keep it a secret, but one of the radio hosts broadcasts his identity on the radio. It takes a radio signal approximately 1/3 of a second to reach the nearest satellite. Plutonian flew straight into space and destroyed the satellite before it even had the chance to intercept the signal. He then went back to the radio station and threatened everyone, calling them idiots. His real identity is the most dangerous secret on Earth, one that his enemies would go to extreme lengths to find. He took Alana outside the city and confessed his undying love for her. He asked her to marry him, but she didn't say anything and just left. Plutonian never said anything about his real parents. He only mentioned once about growing up in Wyoming. Kaiden wants her to come with her, but she refuses, saying it's pointless. He can hear her heartbeat. He can smell her perfume. He could find her anywhere if he really wanted to, and besides, they're all going to die. Kaiden leaves and teleports back to their secret base, where Qubit is sitting with many clones of Modius. Plutonian is forcing two people to make love while he watches them, telling them how to do it. The man is pretending to be him, while the woman is wearing a brunette wig pretending to be Bête Noire. But doing this in front of Plutonian is hard, even if they're scared for their lives. Outside Philadelphia, Scylla and Charybdis, a pair of twin superheroes, are sneaking inside an abandoned prison. Scylla goes inside while his brother remains outside to keep watch. Underneath the prison, there's a secret base which used to belong to Inferno, an eccentric billionaire who fought crime in his spare time. Plutonian killed him, and now a team of villains found his base and are hiding here, wondering how they can take advantage of Plutonian going rogue. Scylla is recording everything and transmitting it back to Qubit, but he's purely on a recon mission and shouldn't intervene or try to confront the villains. Kaiden tells Qubit about Modius, how he was Plutonian's worst enemy, but she doesn't understand why there are 6 of him in his lab. The villains explore the cave and find all sorts of cool gadgets, but what isn't cool is the living quarters, which have no style at all. The Fixer and Encanta go in the kitchen and stumble upon Plutonian making himself a cup of coffee. Apparently, he was here all along and they are in complete shock. Qubit says the real Modius has disappeared and they don't know where he is, and the clones in the base are actually drones. Scylla reports what's happening inside the cave when suddenly one of the villains pulls out his gun and tries to shoot Plutonian. He really shouldn't have done this because he gets his hand blown off. Plutonian wonders if he can call everyone by their first name. He already knows their identities anyway and finds the nickname silly. He rants about normal people, how you can do astonishing things for them 100 times a day. You bring wonder to the lives of ordinary people, and in the end you realize it's like doing magic tricks for a dog. He also mentions building a home inside a volcano, and Qubit wants to make a note of that information. It might be useful. Fixer thinks he's right. He should be surrounded by those who truly appreciate his power and proposes a partnership. But before agreeing to anything, Plutonian wants them to earn his trust first, so he gives them something. He found buttons inside a box lying inside the cave and gives everyone one of each. Qubit knows what's about to happen and orders the twins to get out of the prison as soon as possible. If the villains are really sincere about wanting to start fresh with him, they'll throw those buttons away. But before he could finish his sentence, the villains already pressed the buttons. He asks Fixer what he would build into a headquarters to keep it out of his enemy's hands after he dies. He knows the answer, but it's already too late. Inferno had built a self-destruct inside this base in order to keep people from finding it, and it works. There's a powerful explosion that kills everyone and turns their bodies into skeletons. Everyone except Plutonian. Encanta survives by shielding herself inside a force field, but he finds her nonetheless and wonders how she'd look in a wig. The first time Qubit met Plutonian was nearly 6 years ago, when he traveled into another dimension to pick up the most amazing cheese. He was attacked by the locals and Plutonian came to his rescue. The machine was damaged, so he delayed the attack long enough until Qubit was able to repair it. After returning back to Sky City, he offered Plutonian some amazing purple cheese, but he politely refused, and that's how they first met. In the present, Scylla was pulverized in the explosion, but his brother survived, even though he's in bad shape. Kaiden thought it was too weird seeing one of their longtime villains walking around in the base, so Qubit removed the drone's face, leaving them looking even creepier. Meanwhile, the United Nations are having a meeting to discuss what happened in Sky City and how to deal with Plutonian. The United States wants all of the countries to join forces and maybe use nukes against him, but the others disagree. The Kenyan president wants to make him their king, while the People's Republic declares itself as Plutonian's new homeland. Every representative wants to kiss his ass and avoid being destroyed. Meanwhile, the US representative wants them to fight. Plutonian arrives and uses his ice breath to freeze the old man and then shatter his body into tiny pieces. He then takes over the stage and wants them to keep talking. He kind of likes where this is going. Singapore wants to become his new home country, but Plutonian can feel his heartbeat and knows he's lying. As punishment, he goes into space and throws down to Earth giant pieces of rock, which he heats using his heat vision, causing them to turn into hard diamonds. This causes massive seismic disturbances, and the paradigms spring into action. Their mission isn't to stop him, but rather to save as many people as possible before he destroys the entire city. Gilgamos and Bête Noire get injured during the attack and are knocked unconscious. Plutonian then steals Qubit's teleport bracelet, basically rendering his rescue mission useless. Qubit begs him to give it back so he can rescue as many people as possible, but Plutonian only allows him to save 10 people. After the people were chosen, he kills the remaining people using his heat vision. Plutonian returns the teleport bracelet and allows Qubit and his people to escape while he remains behind to destroy the city. He causes a massive tsunami wave that drowns the entire city and kills millions of people. People are screaming and drowning in the water, but he doesn't care and just stares unbothered, admiring his work. Plutonian returns to his secret hideout, where he keeps souvenirs from former villains whom he has defeated over the years. He plugs in a CD into a special computer which allows him to broadcast a message to the entire world. Every computer, every phone or television was receiving his message, but the people are terrified. He mentions random people from around the world, proving that he knows about them and their lives, and how they wrote or said bad things about him, claiming they can't hide from him and he knows who they are. He often likes to dress normally and mingle among simple people, pretending to be one of them. He could be the guy at the end of the bar right now and they would never know it, especially since this is a pre-recorded message. Volt's earlier career as a superhero involved him saving people for money. The first time he met Plutonian, he was together with Bête, so he assumed they were a couple. They offered him a spot on the team and took him to their headquarters, which was impressive. Volt knows it's rather cliché for him to be an electromagnetic African-American superhero, but he didn't choose his powers. There was an alien invasion last year, where he got caught in the middle of some weird energy flux which gave him powers. Unfortunately, it's also been a curse. Ever since that day, he hasn't been able to find a job, since he can't touch a computer without it exploding. He can't drive a car or even wear a watch. He will gladly join the team, but wonders if it pays well. He still has bills to pay. In the present, Charybdis wakes up from his coma and is angry that his brother died while he survived. He gets into an argument with his teammates, but he can't hurt them because he lost his powers. He and his brother were tethered together, and since he died, he lost his powers. After Plutonian destroyed Sky City, Volt confronted him, demanding to know why he betrayed them. He considered him a friend. He would have given his left arm for him, so Plutonian accepted it. He left him alive, but he took his left arm, so he's crippled now. During their fight in Singapore, Plutonian whispered something in Beth's ear, but didn't want to tell her husband and claims it was nothing important. Qubit claims he built the Modius robots to prove a pet theory. He thinks that nobody knows where Modius is. Nobody except his robots, who are working to find him. They are building a machine that will hopefully allow them to find the only villain that scares Plutonian. Apparently, Modius is a villain more evil and dangerous even than him, but they don't have any other choice. So far, he's the only one that could help them stop Plutonian. The robots finish building the machine, claiming the target was located. They've created a portal which allows them to see a strange place. Upon digging deeper, they realize that the place they're looking at is actually the secret base of Plutonian. For some unknown reason, Beth quickly recognizes this place, and they even see his throne that has his emblem. That's not all, because they even see Plutonian walking through the corridors, but he gently turns his head around, signaling that they were spotted. Volt uses his powers to quickly shut down the portal, leaving the others horrified. Charybdis claims that wherever Plutonian's hideout is, and wherever Modius is, it looks like they have to go through there to get him. Also, Beth has been holding out on them. She recognizes a place they've never been to, and she did it right off, but she claims it was a guess. He assumed she knew it from all the time she slept with him, but this prompts her husband to punch him and defend her honor. On top of everything, Modius's robots have disappeared ever since the portal was activated, which could be trouble. Plutonian sees a vision of when he was a little boy trying to fix his bike. His powers manifest involuntarily, and he loses his temper, causing him to throw his bike toward his unsuspecting mother. Before the memory finishes, he hears something, an SOS message, and he flies immediately to intercept. The Modius robots have wandered around the base, but there's no way of escaping, and the heroes are taking them out one by one. If these robots have only a fraction of Modius's cunning and 15 minutes access to the kind of technology on this base, it could make them very dangerous. Qubit was right, because after destroying the last robot, he realizes that they were able to activate an SOS device, the same kind that Plutonian heard. This means he's probably on his way here right now, and based on how fast sound travels, they only have a few minutes left before he gets here. However, this also means that he abandoned his citadel, and this is their only chance to sneak inside and find Modius, if he's really being kept there. Charybdis decides to stay behind and buy them some time, remarking that he doesn't have powers anymore and is useless to them anyway. The heroes arrive inside the secret citadel, but they have no idea where to go next. Plutonian finally arrives at the Paradigm base and grabs Charybdis by the throat, threatening to kill him. But Charybdis wants to show him a recording about the time when they had to deal with a children's plague, which swept the Jackson, Tennessee area. The heroes quickly realize that the citadel was built inside an active volcano, which means there's no getting out, and definitely no opening windows. An extraterrestrial virus was infecting the children because their autoimmune systems weren't mature enough to fight it off. It liquefied the skin and made muscle and animated the skeletons, making it truly horrifying. Plutonian said he could hear the virus. It was an ultrasonic life form. That's why it pulverized soft tissue. It was a living vibration. Thanks to Plutonian's instructions, Qubit was able to calculate not only an appropriate counter frequency, but a series of delivery systems on the city perimeter. They eradicated the plague and stopped it from traveling outside the city, but tens of thousands of kids were killed. The heroes find a children's room filled with skeletons inside the citadel, which shocks them to their core. Charybdis says that Plutonian was very affected by what happened to those children, especially because it was his fault. This pisses him off, and he slams him against the wall, so Charybdis tells him how he figured it out. During the cleanup, they were able to trace the devastation to its 0 point. The sonic plague was started by a sonic blast that pulverized everyone inside 100 yards, child or no child. It was a research laboratory that Plutonian particularly insisted that they clean up and contain everyone in case anything else dangerous had been let loose. Charybdis found an SOS alarm in the rubble, the same kind that Plutonian gave to Samsara if he ever needed help. Also the same kind of SOS alarm that the Modius robots activated. Why would the scientists at the research lab have this alarm unless it was to call him in case of a catastrophe? Meanwhile, someone is watching the heroes from the shadows and decides to attack them. Gilgamesh tries to save his teammates by shielding them with his wings, but they assume Plutonian has come back. They search for a way out, and Bet stumbles into a room that was a shrine devoted to her, which freaks her out. Kaiden uses a ghost to slice off the attacker's weapon, and Gilgamesh takes her hostage. Encanta is the one who attacked them. She thought that Plutonian brought them here to roleplay into his fantasies, but that's not what they're here for. After the heroes stopped the alien invasion, they started getting demands to turn over some of that captured technology to the world's scientists, but that would have been risky. There was this one scientist who would not let it go. Blog posts, editorials, screeching idiot tirades about how selfish Plutonian was, not to share technology that might benefit the world. It got to the point where no one alive was allowed to say anything good about the Plutonian without that jackass answering them with an insult. Eventually he gave in and visited him one night. Plutonian gave him a sonic device of some kind, but it didn't appear to be a weapon. It only contained some sort of self-sustaining sound wave. Before leaving, Plutonian gave him an SOS alarm to use in case something went wrong. He would come immediately. Plutonian grabs Charybdis and throws him around, saying he's lucky that his brother died. Without his powers, he's just an ordinary man now, and he could have had a pleasantly boring rest of his life. No more constant dread, no more 24/7, no more noise. Because of the nature of his powers, the Plutonian can hear everything that's happening in the world at all times. He can hear people screaming, crying, and begging to be saved. One day, it was too much for him to handle, and he left Earth and landed on the moon, where he finally couldn't hear people's voices anymore. It was only 10 minutes of peace and quiet, and then it got back to normal. That's when he heard the SOS signal coming from the research lab where the children's plague originated. He slams Charybdis against the ground, demanding to know who else knows this secret, but he's the only one who knows it. He prepares to end him, but before he can do it, Charybdis fights back and hits him with a powerful energy beam, claiming his brother never had his own power. He shared his. Scylla was helpless without him from the day they were born. All he could do was siphon his energy off him, and he let him. But half his power wasn't enough to save him when Plutonian brought Inferno's headquarters down around them beneath the prison. The second he woke up, he could tell he was gone. He could feel it. All that excess energy had nowhere to go. It was practically jumping out of his skin, so he faked it, claiming he doesn't have any powers, just waiting to ambush him when he got the chance. Charybdis goes all out and hits Plutonian with everything he's got, and he is actually winning. The madman gets thrown around like a ragdoll, and even his laser eyes are powerless against his opponent. He obliterated a city of 3.5 million people who loved him, but Charybdis demands to know what happened. What made him turn this city into a river of blood? Meanwhile, inside the citadel, Gilgamesh demands to know why Encanta is dressed just like his wife. What kind of sick game was Plutonian playing? The others searched the entire citadel but didn't find what they were looking for. Modius is nowhere to be found. The beating continues until Plutonian decides to say the real reason why he snapped, Samsara. One day he came back with the lost sapphire of Ishwar, which was the source of the boy's powers, but Samsara had already found out that the children's plague was caused by him. The scientists at Sky City Research called him to talk. They said all the Protonic lab records are there. They said they know everything, what really happened in Jackson. They showed him how they know the virus came from him, that he gave it over to somebody and never bothered to check to find out how dangerous it was. Samsara was crushed. He idolized him and never knew he could even lie. This pushed Plutonian over the edge, and he rushed to the lab, claiming Samsara trusted him, and now they took that away from him. He completely destroyed the lab and killed everyone working there. The beating continues, and he is powerless to defend himself against Charybdis, who's better than him in every aspect. The others show up and catch him off guard, which gives Plutonian a chance to escape and run away. But Charybdis doesn't chase after him, claiming he's the one who's going to lead them to victory. He's calling the shots. Plutonian ran all the way to the cemetery where Samsara is buried because he didn't know where else to go. Costumed mystery men and women started showing up more often, demonstrating superhuman powers and abilities, and the president wanted to reassure the people that they are not dangerous. He organized a press conference and asked Plutonian to talk to the people and reassure them. That's when he introduced the first superhero team called the Paradigm. He wanted the people to embrace them just as they have embraced him. No more operating in secret, no more hiding. They are here to help, and he promised he won't let them down. But 4 years later, that's exactly what he did, and the Paradigm are now searching for ways to stop him. Qubit brings Encanta and says that the Modius bots led them to her, but Charybdis claims he can defeat Plutonian now, and they don't need her anymore. Qubit grabs her and teleports away before he can kill her, but Charybdis says they've got other things to focus on. The military was watching everything from the bunker and claims they can no longer trust the Paradigm because they don't have the slightest idea what's going on with them. They have a backup plan and force one of the colonels to read an incantation out loud. This causes a demon named Orion to appear, whom they've dealt with before, but he doesn't need to be briefed. He's been monitoring the Plutonian situation, and he's here to help. Qubit brought Encanta to one of his hideouts and forces her to tell him where Modius is hiding. She refuses at first, but he begins torturing her, and she comes clean. Years ago, she met Modius in other space. He said he'd been experimenting with sorcery himself and found a doorway of some sort but needed her spells to open it. She helped him, and he simply vanished into a hole in space, and she hasn't seen or heard from him ever since. In the cemetery, Samsara wakes up even though he was supposed to be dead, but the crystal, which is the source of his powers, regenerates his body every night. Plutonian is happy to see his friend and hugs him, but Sam is actually Modius in disguise. Charybdis organizes a press conference announcing that he beat Plutonian to a pulp, and they don't need to be scared anymore. He's going to save humanity. He doesn't want to use his old name anymore and takes a new name, asking everyone to call him the Survivor. But the reporters don't know what to make of this and are reluctant, which makes him angry, questioning why they aren't thanking him, why they aren't cheering his name. Gilgamos and his wife go back to the headquarters, and he wants to know if Plutonian was better than him. He knows that Bet cheated on him, but she doesn't want to have this conversation now, claiming they have more important things to focus on. He doesn't let go and presses on, claiming he's been alive for the past 2,000 years, and he knows when someone lies to him. Maybe he knew all along, but he didn't want to face the facts. Meanwhile, the survivor takes Kaiden beneath the base where his brother was taken in order to retrieve his body. He tries to reassure her that she doesn't need to be afraid anymore because he can protect her. He then hits on her and starts kissing her, but she says she can't do this. They are only here to bring back Scylla's body, who's still in a stasis tube. However, upon going inside, the tank tube is empty and the body is nowhere to be found. On the surface, Orion attacked Bet and took her hostage, but he claims he's not here to kill her. Her husband comes to her rescue and attacks him from behind, asking him to get his claws off his wife. The Paradigm banished him years ago, and Gil doesn't understand how he managed to get back here. It seems the army no longer trusts anyone in the Paradigm, so they brought the best hunter they know to take care of their problem. That's how desperate they are. Plutonian tells Samsara that he's an orphan, going from one adoptive family to the next. When he was 11, he found a nice, loving family where the adoptive mother loved him very much, but the father was abusive, so he killed him. Instead of being thankful, the mother was terrified of him, but he was determined to make her love him again, so he'd look after her. He turned into her guardian angel. But one day she couldn't take it anymore. She was terrified of him and wanted to take her own life, but he could hear the cock of a .44mm hammer. He rushed home at incredible speed, leaving a trail of fire behind, but he was too late. The sound takes nearly 10 seconds to travel to where his school was, and she had already taken her life. Sam doesn't know about the millions of people that he's killed, and Plutonian's not ready to tell him just yet. But Sam wants to be his friend and claims he knows how to make everything right again. Orion pins Gilgamesh to the ground and rips off one of his wings, claiming he only needs one of them as a hostage. Bet begs him to spare her husband's life, claiming she's gonna tell him her secret, which isn't her affair with Plutonian. She tells Orion how she and her husband met. Loving him was easy from the start. He's a bear of a man, a born warrior, but there's no cruel bone in his body. He was always sweet and romantic. He's always gentle and makes her feel safe. That was the problem. Plutonian, on the other hand, every instinct had told her there was always something smoldering behind all that Boy Scout charisma. One day, he saw her getting attacked by some bad guys and swooped in to save her. She was grateful and started flirting with him, asking if they could go somewhere quiet, other than the Paradigm headquarters. He took her to his citadel, and she was thrilled to be there with him, alone, secluded, and at his mercy. They kissed, but he was afraid of hurting her. He's so much stronger than her, and even the slightest mistake could kill her. But there was something, a special magic candle made by the Naru Visna, which can make him mortal for as long as it burned. He lit the candle with his eyes and placed it next to the bedroom, and the two of them made love all night. It was more than she ever could have fantasized. Plutonian was like a wild animal. He was unchained, probably for the first time in his life. She finally persuaded him to let her look deep in his eyes, but his eyes were empty and filled with rage, which scared her to death. When they were done, she stole a piece of the candle wax, the only thing that could kill him. But Orion says that's not the secret. There's something else. The others return and find Gilgamos's wing covered in blood, and their only clues are tire marks left in the snow. Cubit arrives as well and investigates, realizing the tire marks belong to the US military. Somewhere else, a family is making dinner, but instead of talking to each other, the husband and wife communicate by writing things down. Their son is mentally challenged, and they take care of him 24/7, but when they walk into the dining room, they find Plutonian and Samsara there. The parents were actually hiding from him, using writing instead of talking, ensuring that he doesn't hear them and find them. These people are Plutonian's first adoptive family, but they abandoned him once they had a child of their own. But the son wasn't born like that. When they brought him home from the hospital, Plutonian asked to hold him, but he squeezed the baby too hard, which injured him. The heroes arrive at a military base where Bet and Gilgamos were taken, but Orion is pleased to see them, claiming he can't wait for them to hear about Bet's secret. The heroes attack him, but he looks unfazed by their attacks while claiming this isn't going to go well for them. Gil lies unconscious on the ground, bleeding from his broken wing, while Cubit says they need Volt to close the wound. They go at him from every direction, Charybdis from the left and Kaiden with her ghost from the right, but he's just too strong. Cubit searches through one of the choppers nearby and manages to build a weapon. He then shoots Orion in the shoulder, injuring him, but he only had one bullet. The demon claims they are seriously misdirecting their anger. Who they should really be angry with is Bet, because she has a dark secret. If she doesn't want to tell them what it is, Gilgamos will, because he heard every word of it. Orion tells them that she cheated on her husband with Plutonian, and only by doing so did she find his one weakness. She knows what will kill him, but she didn't say anything. That first day when he snapped, she hesitated because she was ashamed of cheating and scared to confess. In that one moment when they first realized what Plutonian had become, she could have told them all. But she was too afraid, and now millions of people are dead because of him. They're dead because she didn't say something when she could have, and she didn't want them to ever find that out. Orion says he could punch them in the head all day long, but he realized this would be so much more damaging and entertaining. The US military arrives and he says that by authority vested in him, they're all under arrest. Plutonian talks to the family and reminds them of all the amazing things he has done for humanity, from rescuing submarines to stopping wars in poorer countries. How can they be so unforgiving of someone who's done so much for them? He never did anything on purpose to hurt anyone, ever. He held himself tighter than a piano wire just so his family would want him around. And still they acted every day like they were walking on eggshells, both of them. He doesn't understand why they're so afraid of him, and for God's sake, stop treating him like he's a walking time bomb. While his adoptive parents lie horrified on the ground, their son begs for his cereal because he can't reach it. Plutonian asks Samsara to go outside while he stays behind. But he does more than just talk. It turns out that his parents were right to be scared of him because he obliterated both of them, but he left the paralyzed son alive, reaching for his cereal. Charybdis tries to stop Orion, but he's no match. The demon recognizes his level up and says they may actually have a tough time keeping him in custody, so he takes him back into the same dimension where he comes from. The other heroes are handled one by one, even though Cubit begs them to stop, claiming they are not the enemy and they just want to stop Plutonian. The heroes were arrested and taken into custody, but somehow, Bet managed to escape and is searching for someone, her father. When Plutonian started destroying cities, he managed to escape and hide, and it's been a living hell ever since, especially with the food riots. Beth claims she's a murderer and decides to tell her father what happened the day Plutonian started killing. She was on a mission with Volt, who couldn't understand what she sees in her husband when she could be with him. It's because she's racist, isn't it? Sky City was destroyed, and 3.5 million people were killed, but nobody knew who did it. Citadel, one of their teammates, was the first one to arrive on the scene, but he was viciously killed. the heroes were able to see the last thing that he saw before dying. It was Plutonian carrying the dead bodies of civilians. Instead of telling them about the magic candle that can make Plutonian powerless, Beth didn't say anything. She just stood there and heard herself lie to the husband she loved more than anything. Plutonian had locked himself inside a school, but the doors and windows were bolted shut. Plutonian was terrorizing the children, claiming he never allowed himself to play with others when he was a kid because he was afraid of hurting them, so he hid his powers and they bullied him. The heroes broke inside and tried to stop him, but he tore through them like butter. Beth came face to face with him, and she begged him to stop or else she'd use the candle on him. He attacked her, but Gilgamesh saved her at the last second. He then flew away and left them without saying anything. Beth blames herself for what happened. Maybe if she had said anything, all those people in Singapore wouldn't have been killed, including many members of her family and friends. Her father is visibly upset and can't even talk to her, but maybe in time he'll be able to forgive her. Somewhere else, Scylla's body is lying next to Encanta while they're being watched by one of Modius' robots. Meanwhile, two criminals are having an argument when red text appears on their foreheads. They begin reading it out loud, but this causes their bodies to explode as the demon Orion and the survivor emerge from another dimension. The only way to get from his dimension to this one is if some poor human reads the alien words. The two of them have made a pact, and Orion agreed to help the survivor defeat Plutonian together. The heroes were taken to special holding cells, but Cubit is able to speak to Volt through a light bulb. Kaiden was in handcuffs and restraints, preventing her from speaking and summoning ghosts to help her. Gilgamesh was locked inside one of the cells, but he wasn't saying anything and was just moping about his wife. He's over 2,000 years old and remembers a time when he was locked inside a cell with Alexander, son of King Philip. Alexander was able to escape the prison by using bones from a dead rat to pick the locks. They were then able to free the other soldiers locked inside, and they attacked their enemies together. Bet returns to the prison and manages to free Kaiden and then Cubit, who says he didn't have anything he could use to escape himself. After freeing Volt as well, they go into Gilgamesh's cell, but he cut off his wing and stripped the bone, just like Alexander did, and then used it to pick his locks. He went straight home because he knows that Beth must have hidden the candle somewhere inside the castle. The others went after him, but he had already found it, which Beth turned into a bullet. He wants to go after Plutonian and claims he's not alone. The survivor and Orion are also here proposing an alliance. They agree to work together and stop Plutonian, but Cubit doesn't trust Orion and thinks they are making a mistake. The heroes travel to the Grand Canyon in order to minimize the chance of collateral damage. They run into someone they didn't expect to see, Samsara, who says they can't sneak around behind someone who can see and hear everything on the planet. Plutonian is coming for them and he's not happy. He attacks them at full force, diving straight into the ground and taking the survivor with him. Beth used the wax to turn it into a bullet and then jacked it with titanium for true flight, and she's the only one with perfect aim capable of hitting a target that can move faster than thought. Plutonian and the survivor are fighting through the Earth's crust, creating seismic disturbances all over the state. They've driven through a major fault line, triggering a 9.8 earthquake, and it's growing. Survivor eventually escapes through the ground, while the others ambush Plutonian and jump him as he is coming out. They attack him together and manage to land a good blow while the others try to get out of harm's way. Sam claims he can talk Plutonian down, but they need to make him listen. Cubit thinks he's a little beyond that right now, but they have to subdue him. He would rather deal with Plutonian than have to deal with Orion, an alien marauder who's obviously playing them so he can take out all opposition. Volt, on the other hand, thinks they should just kill him and let Beth do her thing. Sam likes Cubit's idea better and realizes that Volt has a 78% chance of subduing Cubit, so he thinks of something. Kaiden used one of her ghosts to slam Plutonian against the rocks, while the survivor restrains him using his energy. Samsara lures Volt to the edge of a cliff, claiming he knows a way to stop Plutonian, but instead of helping, he pushes him over the edge, claiming he has plans for Plutonian and they require that both of them live through all this nonsense. Beth gets ready to take the shot as Orion joins the fight and restrains Plutonian while also mocking him, hinting that he's planning something and using the heroes to help him do it. Beth shoots, and the candle wax bullet flies toward Plutonian, but just moments before it struck him, Cubit activates a portal that changes the bullet's trajectory, hitting Orion straight in the head. This causes Plutonian to break free, but instead of attacking, he flies towards Samsara, who asks for help. Volt was killed in the fall, and his lifeless body lies in a puddle of his own blood, while Sam claims he tried to kill him, but he fell. Plutonian takes him, and they both escape to fight another day while the heroes process what had just happened. The survivor claims that Cubit stole Beth's chance at redemption. She no longer has to bear the guilt of 6 million people dead. That's his guilt now. Before leaving though, Cubit extracts the bullet from Orion's head and takes it without the others realizing. Kaiden can't stop herself from crying at Volt's funeral. But Cubit says they risked so much by being here where Plutonian can find them. She's tired of running from a mad god all the time and just wants to sit here for 5 minutes. She's willing to take her chances. Ever since Charybdis became the survivor, he's been behaving a little crazy, but he still acts like he's on their side. He swears that if the military comes to arrest them again, he's gonna fight them off. Kaiden doesn't want to forget Volt and wants them to tell stories about him, like the time he saved her from the Parliament of Grey, or when he came to everyone's rescue during the war with Encanta, or how he brought her soup when she had the flu. Gilgamos has been alive for centuries. He's seen entire civilizations rise and fall, but he has never experienced a more profound sensation of loss than after finding out that his wife cheated on him with Plutonian. The United States doesn't have a president anymore. It's under martial law, and the country is being run by the military. The survivor breaks into one of the bases and threatens General Elric, the acting commander-in-chief of the United States. He destroys the controls to America's remaining nuclear arsenal. It's going to take them at least a year to rebuild. Until then, he and his team are the country's nuclear arsenal, so they better treat them with respect. Samsara is sitting in the middle of the road when a family is driving towards him. The father wasn't paying attention to the road and manages to crash the car, which instantly catches fire. He begs Sam to save his family, who are still trapped inside, and doesn't understand why he's just sitting there, doing nothing. But Sam is bored. Plutonian arrives and puts out the fire, but his wife's spine is shattered, while his daughter is already dead. He reminds the father that this happens when you make one mistake. There's no forgiveness, just like what happened to him. In the cemetery, Kaiden realizes that her powers allow her to see the ghosts of her former teammates, which means she can also control them and maybe use them in their fight against Plutonian. Samsara's been thinking about how to make things right for Plutonian, and says he's found a way to undo what he did to Sky City. After he destroyed the city, he went on a rampage inside a small farmer's town with a population of just 612 people. The people living here are mostly farmers, and they've been struggling to rebuild their town, but they've lost most of their tools and infrastructure. Cubit shows up and offers to help, starting by building them a solar-powered tractor built from scraps. As long as he has even the rawest of components, he can reknit them into any device he can imagine. The survivor arrives and does all the plowing in mere seconds. They don't even need the tractor anymore. Kaiden is trying to connect with the ghosts of her fallen teammates, but she can't feel Scylla for some reason. She quickly realizes that she can't see or feel him because he's still alive, trapped somewhere with Encanta and one of Modius's robots. Samsara shows Plutonian the lost sapphire of Ishwar, which was a gift from him the same afternoon he was killed. The crystal on Sam's head is the source of his powers, which allow him to regenerate. The sapphire of Ishwar is related to his crystal, which means it holds the same powers only in much greater amounts. So maybe if they find a way to create enough power to trigger it, then all those people who got killed in Sky City could be brought back to life. Survivor says they could have killed Plutonian 5 days ago, but Cubit saved his life. The people of this small town lost family members during the attack, wives, mothers, daughters, and they go off on him. Cubit claims that Orion was a threat far greater than Plutonian. He's an alien demon who was seconds away from summoning an invading army to conquer Earth. There was nothing in him but blackness. On the other hand, Plutonian has saved the planet and everyone on it 100 times over. They just have to try and save him a while longer. Cubit has spent his entire life devoted to science and reason and math, and he's not the traitor to the human race that everyone believes him to be. He knows they don't have to kill Plutonian. He knows this because Hornet proved it to him when he died. Plutonian uses his heat vision to try and power the crystal, creating a powerful explosion that engulfs the entire city. But it's no use. Nothing happens, and he doesn't know what it's going to take. And the only person who could have figured it out vanished many years ago. The only man more intelligent than Cubit, Modius. He and Modius have been at each other's throats ever since he became a superhero. He was a psychopath, but Plutonian never knew what he truly wanted. He didn't rob banks, he didn't seize thrones, he simply attacked, murdering anyone who ever challenged him except him. Their relationship was unique. He loved tormenting him, inventing ways to torture him, striking at him through everything or everyone he cared about, including Alana. One day he tried to blow up her building, but he managed to find the bomb and take it into space. Just before it vaporized, the bomb transmitted a signal, and he was able to trace it back and follow it. The signal led him to some sort of cybernetics lab. There were guard dogs, but he didn't waste his time with them. Instead, he found Modius building half a dozen Plutonian robots, but he caught him off guard. These cybernetic duplicates were flawless, works of art practically. But why? Plutonian's powers allow him to watch how electrons bounce through a man's subcortex. He can interpret their dance as anxiety or elation or rage. He can decode the pheromones. In that moment, Modius's guard was down, and all his feelings were not only in full display, they were off the charts, and he finally knew the truth. Those weren't instruments of crime Modius was building, they were sex robots. Modius was in love with him. He had always attacked him or tortured him, but he never actually killed him. He loved him so much that he eventually found a way to disappear from this earth altogether, so he could be with him always and forever inside the reanimated corpse of his sidekick. Cubit decides to show Charybdis and Kaiden a recording that Hornet made just before he was killed by Plutonian. If anyone is seeing this message, it means that his best friend has snapped and murdered him. There used to be this old Twilight episode about a farm town ruled by an omnipotent little boy who can change reality just by thinking about it. People live and die depending upon what mood he's in every second of every day. They live on eggshells. They can't even whisper to each other how afraid they are because they're terrified he'll hear them. They all want to believe that Plutonian has no darkness in him, but the thing they can never talk about is how long that can possibly last. All the pressure he's under, all the expectations the world puts on him, he'll break. Anyone would. Even Jesus showed a temper. Hornet never had any superpowers, and he was always grateful to be in the paradigm, where he got to do amazing things, travel to strange planets, and talk to aliens. In the present, Plutonian tells Modius that he found the perfect hiding spot inside his best friend's body. He hunted the earth for him when he vanished and could never find him. He somehow found a way to enter Sam's mind, but he could never fully control him. He figured it out early on. There's a very characteristic emotionlessness to his tone, his speech patterns, very unique and very familiar. Plus, Sam can't heal from that kind of wound he gave him, and he definitely wouldn't be able to think as clearly as he does. Modius wanted to show him that he's his constant, the one he can still turn to no matter how much he's hurting. Plutonian says he could never look at his face and feel anything but love for him as long as all he can see is his best friend's face, so let's fix that. He hits him in the face with his heat vision, causing him immense pain. Plutonian then picks up a bar of Snickers from the ground and begins eating it as if this doesn't bother him at all. One day, a starship had crash-landed in Central Park, and the heroes were sent to deal with the Vespa aliens that wanted to invade the planet. Hornet wanted Cubit to give him a teleportation device, which would allow him to sneak aboard the ship and look for weaknesses. Nobody would even bother with him since he doesn't have any superpowers. While the others were fighting on the ground, Hornet snuck inside the ship, but the situation was much worse than they had initially thought. They had vastly underestimated their numbers, and he was quickly found and arrested. These aliens go from planet to planet, enslaving its people and stealing their resources. But Hornet thought of something. He made a deal with the aliens. In exchange for sparing his planet, he offered them the teleportation device. The Paradigm have been to dozens of Earth-like planets, worlds without defenses, and if the aliens vow to return to take Plutonian when he says so, probably after he snaps, he will provide them with exact transport coordinates to every world they have ever visited and ever will. The aliens agreed to this deal and left Earth, while Hornet was hailed as a hero for saving the planet from the invasion, even though he didn't have any powers. The aliens left him with a transmitter, which he used to send them information about alien planets, basically selling the universe to protect the human race. This was 3 years ago, and now every day that Plutonian doesn't go insane, he wonders if he's just a hero or just a paranoid little man. Hornet arranged to trigger an alert to the Vespa aliens upon his death, and now the aliens have returned, and they attack Plutonian from behind with a powerful energy blast. The aliens hit him over the face and manage to injure him, which leaves him shocked. He retaliates using his heat vision, but the beam of energy passes through a portal and emerges on the other side. The beam of energy is redirected towards Plutonian, which leaves him injured on the ground. Cubit calls their technology brilliant. Force fields that deflect incoming attacks, concentrated teleportation beams that remove invulnerable molecules that can't otherwise be cut. The Vespa have taken his teleportal technology and weaponized it. He's as flattered as Einstein was when he saw Hiroshima. After injuring his face, the aliens have managed to get a sample of Plutonian's skin. Somewhere else, Samsara's face is burned after Plutonian injured him, but one of the Modius robots shows up and takes his mind, merging back into one being. The Vespa use the sample of skin and begin cloning it, but Cubit wants some reassurances that they won't turn on this planet once they've dealt with Plutonian. Their general claims they are beings of honor, and they will honor the deal they made with Hornet. Plutonian is pissed as hell, and he goes into super accelerated mode, wiping out a bunch of aliens in 1 second. The survivor hits him from behind, while Kaiden uses the ghosts of her fallen teammates to strap him down. The cloning process has finished, and the aliens made a straitjacket out of his skin, which they place around his body in hopes of restraining him, but it's not enough, and Plutonian is able to break free. He then picks up the giant blue crystal and wants to finish what he started with Sam, to power it using his heat vision in hopes of bringing back to life everyone he's ever killed. It works, and the people of Sky City are brought back to life, but they are confused. He wants them to trust him, and he reassures them he's here to help them. But this is merely an illusion because the straitjacket worked, and the aliens manage to capture him and restrain him. Life goes back to normal, and Plutonian continues being a superhero, saving people's lives and helping everyone he can. But this was all happening in his mind, while his body is encased in bindings cloned from his own invulnerable skin. The Vespa claim that he is now eternally theirs to do with as they see fit. This is the bargain they struck with the Earthmen who represented them a few years back. They will forever honor their promise and never return to this world. They may consider this a blessing, unless it turns out someday that the Plutonian is not the only one of his kind. They've done it. They finally got rid of Plutonian, and the survivor kisses Kaiden out of pure joy. In Plutonian's mind, he continues doing what he does best, and he even finds a way to bring back Sky City from the ashes, and he couldn't be any happier. Meanwhile, the survivor talks to the entire world and claims that he and his team have defeated Plutonian and he's no longer a threat. He's declaring this day a worldwide holiday and doubts that anyone would argue with him over that. However, there's much to do, but he and his team will gladly guide them through the days ahead. Plutonian killed most of the Earth's heroes, so he asks everyone with powers, even if they are villains, to come forth and help rebuild what was destroyed, promising amnesty to anyone who offers to help. Plutonian's mind is fully controlled by the Vespa, who lobotomized him and then threw him in with the rest of the prisoners. The others treat him as fresh meat and begin pounding on him, but he can't even defend himself. The fantasy inside Plutonian's mind continues as he keeps being a superhero, fighting bad guys and making the world a better place. The aliens are able to see inside his mind and claim he's not simply daydreaming, he's utterly withdrawn from a reality of his own accord. He's living inside a self-constructed fantasy world, a prison within a prison. Since his mind is unresponsive, they've fitted him with a remote-controlled exoskeleton, which allows them to maneuver him like a marionette. His strength and relative invulnerability make him an optimal Terramite miner, and they use him as one of their slaves inside the mines. As long as he has the durability to survive the mines, that's all that matters. They don't care about his mental state. After giving that big speech in front of the entire world, the survivor has become the new Plutonian, and he can't stop gloating from his newfound fame. But Qubit is worried because he called upon every person with powers to come out of hiding and help rebuild what was destroyed, including villains. Instead of parading around the world and enjoying his fame, maybe he should be looking for his brother, who is somewhere out there alive. The survivor loses his temper and attacks Qubit, claiming he would give anything to get his brother back, but getting the world back to normal took a lot of power, and he can't afford to share half of it with his brother. He's the only hope they have at rebuilding civilization, and all he had to do was give up his brother. He should be thanking him for making this sacrifice. The survivor also reminds Qubit what happened when the people found out he tried to help the Plutonian. He was almost killed by the people from Talwart, Iowa. Plutonian was taken to a prison planet that harbors the most ruthless and most powerful beings in the known universe. At the center of this planet is a gravitational well capable of generating half the pull of a black hole, and whenever they wish to induce a lockdown, they simply activate the well and pin the prisoners motionless to the ground. The aliens perform a small demonstration, but this has undesired effects on the Plutonian. Inside his prison mind, he was saving the day as usual, but for some unknown reason, he can't control his powers properly, and he begins hurting people. Something goes wrong during the presentation, and the pressure inside the mines is increased to maximum. The gravity was so immense that most of the alien prisoners were squashed to death, but someone survived. The Plutonian is the only one still standing up. Plutonian can't control his powers anymore, and he doesn't know what's going on, so he retreats back to his hideout inside the volcano. The aliens panic and print out more of the same skin they were able to clone from him, which they'll need to restrain him. Samsara appears and tells him to calm down and just let go and relax, so he does it. He goes into a state of calmness as his body is slowly being wrapped inside his cloned skin. He is then placed inside a metal coffin, while the aliens are getting ready to transport him somewhere else. Modius remarks that out of all the sentient beings he's encountered over the years, only Plutonian stirred within him two genuine emotions: the love he felt for him, and the horror he felt when he told him he knew this. Now that he was taken prisoner by the aliens and taken into space, he tries to replace him with Scylla, but it's not the same thing. He's determined to get Plutonian back, and Qubit is the only man who can do this. Meanwhile, what's left of the paradigm go on a mission to recruit the villains who were promised amnesty by the survivor. The first one who got recruited is Decay, a villain who destroys everything he touches. Next, they meet with Yarko the Great, a psychopath mass murderer who spends his time dissecting animals. The last person on their list is Shank, a girl who uses knives to stab people, but they have no effect on Decay. Deep in space, Plutonian's coffin is dropped inside a burning star, but he could feel the scorching heat burning his flesh, and he didn't want to die. A guy named Orion appears, who wants to save him and asks him not to panic. He takes him back to Earth, but something is wrong and the Plutonian feels weak, as if gravity is pulling him down and he can't even see properly. He lost his powers, but Orion promises to watch over him and keep him safe. In reality, Plutonian is still trapped inside his metal coffin as it continues to fall inside the burning star, until it stops, and he is found by two strange aliens. The aliens rescue him from the coffin and place him on a stretcher, taking him back to their hideout. They take him inside and begin washing his body and taking care of him, but he's in a vegetative state. He can't think, talk, or know what's going on, while the strange aliens begin undressing him and taking advantage of him, but they are being watched by other alien guards. Back on Earth, the remaining heroes and villains work on rebuilding the Paradigm headquarters, but Kaiden keeps an eye on them, making sure they don't turn evil again. The survivor forces Burroughs, a villain with the ability to read people's minds, to read the mind of a very dangerous villain, trying to see if they can trust him or not. Burroughs suffers from anxiety and doesn't like doing this, especially reading the mind of a deranged villain like Apostate. He does it, but the survivor shows him a room filled with more villains, all waiting to have their minds probed. Plutonian goes on an imaginary date with Alana, but the whole thing turns grim when she turns into Modius. Modius wants them to have a fresh start and asks him not to be afraid, but he panics and falls off the side of the building. Orion jumps after him, claiming it's been long enough. He has to wake up before he hits the ground. Cubit arrives in the interrogation room and talks telepathically to Burroughs, asking him to read the survivor's mind and see what he's really up to. He does it, but what he sees inside shocks him, so he decides to show Cubit what he's really planning. Modius kidnapped Kaiden and is blackmailing Cubit, asking him to use his teleport technology to try and find where Plutonian is. Cubit agrees as long as nothing happens to Kaiden, but he takes the special bullet made out of magic candle wax, just in case he needs it to stop Plutonian. After the aliens try to take advantage of him, the Plutonian wakes up inside an infirmary with many strange aliens around him. He goes outside and realizes he's inside a place called Gainom, a citadel in the heart of a sun. An alien talks to him, claiming that nobody has ever escaped this place, and if he's going to be the first one to do it, they need to work together. This alien also claims this isn't a prison, it's an intergalactic insane asylum. Orion recounts the Plutonian's early life. He was a unique little boy of unknown origin, shuttled from foster home to foster home in search of parents who weren't terrified of him. He had skin like diamond, eyes like lasers, senses so heightened that the rest of the world seemed deaf and blind to him, but no one was much interested in explaining. No matter how much you give, or for how long, or how hard you try, all it takes is one mistake to make you irredeemable. After years of being perfect, he made one slip, one tiny little error, and in a heartbeat everyone turned on him. His city, his peers, his sidekick, and he finally figured, why not cut some losses? What's to lose? But Earth's heroes couldn't beat him, so they called reinforcements. The Vespan, an alien race of warriors who couldn't control him either. So they deposited him on the planetoid Gehnom, a cosmic madhouse buried in the heart of a star. So far Orion's story is accurate, but Plutonian wants to see who's hiding beneath that mask, so he burns it away with his heat vision. Modius also recounts his obsession with him, which led to insatiable hunger. He wanted to inhale him, to devour him. Once he recognized these emotions for what they were, these feelings, he knew he had found his soulmate. In the present, he and Cubit teleport to the Vespan homeworld and talk to one of their leaders. They want to know the Plutonian's location, but the alien refuses, threatening to go after Earth if they continue. The teleportal technology they are using was invented by Cubit, and he still controls it, proving it by showing a small demonstration. He shuts one of the portals mid-use, causing one of the ships to get cut in half, threatening to close every teleportal in their system if he doesn't tell them where Plutonian is. Orion's face is finally revealed, and he claims the Plutonian needs him to get out of this planet. If they just fly into space, they'd be lost. What they need to do is travel to the planet's core, where the guards and support staff are, where there should be a teleport machine that will allow them to leave this place. But before reaching the planet's core, they have to face many dangers, including a bat-like creature who nearly defeats them. During the confrontation, the monster manages to bite the Plutonian's head and trap him with its sharp teeth. But he uses his heat vision to carve a hole throughout its body and free himself, but the creature is very hard to kill. Meanwhile, Modius takes Cubit through a hidden portal in the other world, which allows them to travel to a different plane of existence. Modius tells Cubit that the Plutonian's powers aren't physical. Like everyone thinks, those aren't laser beams coming out of his eyes, they're what happens when he transfers kinetic energy to the air molecules striking his eyes, turning them into a stream of superheated gas. He can withdraw molecular motion from the air, reducing its temperature to sub-freezing. He can't emit X-rays from his eyes. Instead, he mentally alters the atomic structure of the objects he's looking at. making them more permeable to electromagnetic radiation in general. He flies by shifting his mass into the surrounding atmosphere, telekinetically squeezing through it like soap through a fist. Most remarkably of all, he manipulates the density of matter with a thought, toughening his skin and muscles harder than diamond. He can detect with perfect precision the position and the momentum of every atom around him. That's how he can affect both, but he doesn't even realize he's doing it. He just thinks he's strong. But if he can do all this, he can redefine reality and has no idea of the implications. All of this is so obvious and Qubit blames himself for not figuring it out sooner, but he did, several times, so Modius took it out of his brain. He killed the pertinent data in his head with a neural program piggybacked onto a flu virus. Plutonian's journey to the center of the sun continues, but this time he's being attacked by an entire forest of monsters. He is trapped and the branches go everywhere inside his body, including his eyes. The survivor is fighting some villains and wants help, but Qubit and Kaiden have left him, so he's all alone. He goes into a state of frenzy and wants Burroughs to find them immediately. Burroughs looked into his mind and knows just how crazy he actually is. Plutonian recounts the first act of heroism he ever did, when during an airshow, two planes collide and he came to the rescue. He managed to save both the pilot and prevent the debris from falling on the spectators, making him an instant hero. In the present, he is able to free himself from the tree monsters using his heat vision to burn them down. But the bat-like creature helped him, so they decide to team up. He continues the journey to the center of the planet, while we see that Orion is actually the first person he ever saved, the pilot during that airshow that day. Plutonian runs into Zotan, the all-being, architect and creator of all reality, who claims to be God himself. Plutonian claims he's an atheist who doesn't believe in gods, but Zotan doesn't need his faith. He has thousands of loyal followers to worship him. Plutonian uses the sand from the desert to turn it into a giant ball of diamond, which he then uses to destroy Zotan and his throne. He uses the skin from one of his followers to make himself a new suit. Kaiden was left trapped on Earth by Modius and guarded by the former love of her life, Scylla. Scylla's mind is now gone, and he's nothing but a zombie, while Kaiden remembers the beautiful moments they had together. He was always the alpha between the two brothers, while Charybdis was always the nice boy, too timid to stand up for himself. Suddenly, Scylla's ghost emerges, even though he's not officially dead yet, but he can't speak and begs her to kill him. Next, Plutonian and his crew run into a monster who constantly hears voices talking to him. The voices come from the many mouths on his back, and Plutonian wants to help him. He creates a jacket and equips it on his body, which makes the voices stop and the alien starts acting normal. Next, they run into Cutter, a suicidal alien who wants to cut herself with her sharp claws, but every time she does it, someone else gets hurt. Plutonian's body gets cut and he begins bleeding, but he enjoys it and says he likes her. He offers to help her and tries to calm her down, but Orion wants them to leave her there and go. Before they can talk further, someone crashes into them at high speed. It's another Plutonian who asks him not to listen to Orion and to take Cutter with them. Meanwhile, Qubit and Modius are able to teleport to the center of the planet, where the command center is, and demand to know where the Plutonian is. Plutonian demands to know who this other version of him is, but he doesn't have an answer. Apparently, there's another enemy in front of them who has hammers for fists. Plutonian is confident and attacks the enemy head-on, but he gets punched so hard that it sends him flying into the mountain behind them. He then runs into another Plutonian with his crew, and he realizes that the guy punched him so hard that it sent him back in time. Inside the planet's core, the aliens evacuate through one of the portals, fearing for their lives. Qubit takes over the machines, claiming he built this technology and it won't be hard to learn how to use it. Since they can't get anywhere near this new enemy, the Plutonian asks Cutter to use her telekinetic powers to cut him. Punching people through the damn time barrier is a very useful power, but so is Cutter's, and there's more pain where that came from. The enemy surrenders, claiming his name is Malice. He wonders if they can take him home. He's been stuck here for a very long time. Plutonian offers to take him along, confidently claiming that nobody is strong enough to oppose the 5 of them, but they should be 6 with Malice along. Modius says the reason he loves Plutonian is because he's perfect, a perfect form, moving in perfect grace, speaking in perfect tones, as such the only sentient being worthy of his affections. The only reason he agreed to tolerate Qubit and team up with him is because he's the only one who wanted to help Plutonian when all of his teammates sentenced him to death. Plutonian exposes Orion for being an imposter, remarking that he looks just like the first person he ever saved on Earth, which should be impossible. This guy is an alien, a psychic symbiote used by the doctors at the asylum, a walking tranquilizer who keeps the most dangerous patients mentally anesthetized. He lives only by bonding with the host and then pleasing him. That's what he did to the Plutonian. But instead of forgiving him and offering to take him along to the planet's core, Plutonian punches him through the chest, killing him on the spot. The crew then continues the journey and arrives at the planet's core. Plutonian hugs Modius, asking if he can lead him and his crew back to Earth. Everyone except Cubit. He asks his crew to kill him, but Cubit was ready and he creates a force field around him that protects him. He says he built the teleport technology and he can also destroy it, which he does, claiming he cannot let this loose on Earth. Every teleport device in the universe is simultaneously destroyed, basically removing any chance of them going back home. Plutonian thinks of something and asks Malice to punch him as hard as he can and send him 2 minutes back in time. He is then able to grab Cutter and Kurna and move through the portal, while everyone else gets left behind. Modius's drone breaks down as soon as that happens and Cubit is left alone with Malice. Meanwhile, Plutonian and his crew arrive back on Earth through the portal. His eyes start glowing red while he says, "Home, sweet home." Donald Ehrlich is the new commander-in-chief of the United States, and he gives a big speech, announcing that they don't have the money to rebuild everything that Plutonian has destroyed, but they've agreed to a partnership with China, Brazil, Japan, and the UK, where they will trade resources and manpower to rebuild their countries. Suddenly, an alarm goes off inside the Paradigm headquarters. There's an unidentified flying object flying over the country at lightning speed. It's Plutonian, who goes on a rampage all across the country, using his heat vision to destroy entire cities from space. He goes all out in a frenzy of rage, leveling skyscrapers, burning down trees, and killing hundreds of thousands of people again. When he is finished, he carves his emblem all over the country, leaving a giant scar that can be seen from space. The survivor swore that Plutonian was taken away and would never come back, and now the people turn on the Paradigm for failing to keep them safe. Survivor wants his new team of heroes and villains to hit the streets and protect the people, but they're scared and wonder who's going to protect them. Plutonian makes love with Cutter because on that asylum planet, she made him bleed and he could feel something once again. But here on Earth, he's much stronger, and she isn't able to hurt him, which pisses him off. He and his crew break inside the Paradigm base, and the survivor wants his team to hit them with everything they've got, but Cutter slits off one of their heads. His own team turns on him, and the survivor is forced to defend himself, claiming he's not the enemy. He wants Burroughs to read Plutonian's mind and tell him his next move, but the pressure was too much for him, and Burroughs takes his own life. The villains turn on Survivor, but he calls them crazy, claiming he's not the enemy. Plutonian is. He manages to convince them, and they go back to face the attacker, but they've disappeared. Somewhere else, Plutonian asks his crew to make a wish upon a falling star, and they do. But that's not a wishing star. He's throwing people into the air as hard as he can. I guess we know what happened to Survivor's crew. The country's commander-in-chief is meeting Mr. Shichang, the wealthiest private individual in the Eastern Hemisphere, and Mr. Nintoku, who works for Japan's military-industrial division. They claim they've been working on a plan to handle Plutonian. It was designed and engineered years ago as a failsafe to maintain the balance of world power once the United States began evidencing superhumans. But if they do this, 1/3 of the world's population is going to die. Is the United States willing to sacrifice 2 billion people in order to save 5? After Plutonian returned and started going on a rampage around the country, Beth moved into the Hollywood Hills and wanted to live a good life, as much as she has left anyway. Plutonian finds and confronts her. She's the one who pulled the trigger and wanted to kill him, but Cubit saved his life. She wants him to get it over with and kill her, but he has other ideas and gives her a passionate kiss. Cutter goes into a frenzy of jealousy and manages to hurt Plutonian. He's glad she finally found a way to make him feel, and thinks the three of them can have some fun together. Kaiden finds Gilgamos, who was hiding in one of his castles, and tells him what happened to her. She was kidnapped by Modius and held hostage by Scylla's zombie corpse. In the end, she was able to save Scylla from being torn between life and death, and he has a message for them. He knows that his brother is way more dangerous than Plutonian ever was, and if he lets his ego get in the way, and he will, everyone dies, including their friends. There's one secret that nobody knows about. He and his brother were not twins, but triplets. There's one last brother somewhere out there. 10 years ago, they were still teenagers and were using their powers to fight petty criminals. They were young, stupid, and sure of themselves, and during one of their missions, a criminal got killed. Elliot, the third brother, couldn't live with the guilt and decided to become a monk, using his powers to help others rather than for selfish reasons. When they thought that Scylla was killed, the survivor visited his brother, but he already knew because he felt the surge in power. Survivor wants his brother to join him so they can stop the Plutonian together, but Elliot doesn't want to use his powers because they corrupt you, and he lives a life of faith now. He knew that by coming here there would be only one way he could get the power from him, by killing his own brother. But Elliot doesn't put up a fight and just wants him to end him quickly. Beth is now Plutonian's prisoner, and she wants to see what would happen if she tried to kill herself. He stops the bullet just before it goes into her head. He's not ready to let her go just yet. Now that they've been freed from the planet asylum, Cutter is unsure what they should do, but he wants them to do as they please. As for him, He's unsure what he really wants, and goes to the bottom of the ocean to think clearly, the only place where he can drown the voices in his head and be at peace. The president agrees to go ahead with the Japanese plan to stop the Plutonian, and they get ready to activate a special device. Somewhere on a remote island, inside a special bunker, the alarm goes off and one of the guards panics. There's a powerful nuclear explosion that destroys everything on the island and creates a giant smoke cloud. From the burning ashes, something emerges. A pair of scary hands crawl out. From the rubble, two tall beings emerge, wearing red clothes and a white dome instead of a head. These beings have immense power and they are able to separate the ocean water, just like Moises did in the Bible, and they both head towards an unknown location. The Asian leaders who talked the United States president into going along with their plan say that those two beings were imprisoned by China and they suspect they have some connection to Plutonian. They lied, claiming they can control them and get them to stop the Plutonian, but it's not a guarantee. The president is angry with them for lying and orders his security to arrest them and throw them into the deepest hole they can find. Apparently, the radiation that was released from the explosion is sweeping out in unilateral intensity in all directions. Most of the Asian countries have already been hit, and it will reach the United States west coast in less than a day. There's no way to stop this much radiation, and at least 2 billion people are going to die of radiation poisoning. Scylla says that among the three brothers, only Elliot was afraid of what that kind of power might turn him into, and seeing what it's done to the survivor, maybe he wasn't wrong. Kaiden wants Gilgamos to talk to him and get him on their side, because he's walking proof that a man can live forever with power and not let it corrupt him. She's got a new kind of power which allows her to walk through the afterlife, and Scylla guides them to Israel, where his brother is. But the survivor is already here, trying to get his brother to help him stop the Plutonian. Scylla does the same thing, saying they need his help to save the human race, but they are all in shock to see their brother's ghost. Beth warns Cutter, who wants to get close to Plutonian and be his companion, but that's not what he wants. He knows what kind of darkness lies inside of him. He wants others to know it and reject him, so he can feel punishment for his horrible actions. Out of nowhere, Cutter attacks her, but it wasn't actually her. Modius had taken over her body completely ever since they returned from the prison inside the sun. The three brothers get into a heated argument, and the survivor wants his brother's power, either willingly or by force, but Gilgamos stabs him from behind using his sword. He thought that by killing him, all of the power will transfer to Elliot, and he's gonna save them from Plutonian. But it doesn't work like that. Out of all the three brothers, the survivor was the only one who truly had any powers, and he was sharing it with the others. But now that he's dead, all that power is gone, and now there's nobody left that can challenge the Plutonian. Meanwhile, the two beings that emerged from the nuclear explosion walk to the bottom of the ocean where Plutonian is hiding. They grab him as if he was a toy and pull him out of the water, claiming they are his birth parents. He doesn't believe them, saying this can't be real because they aren't even human. He wants to be released immediately, but they refuse, saying they've been willing captives on this planet for decades, and only recently have they been made aware of his actions. As punishment for what he did, they take him into the future, to the very end of time, the heat death of the universe, where all activity ceased. He will be trapped here forever. He won't be able to move or speak and will freeze for eternity, because here no stars burn anymore. Life doesn't exist, and all that remains is a random scattering of leptons and photons, and even they will fade. He begs them for mercy if they truly are his parents. How can they abandon him again? His birth parents decide to show him the truth about them, claiming they are the Ilios, the gatherers and caretakers of all spacetime's knowledge. For generations, they have ventured to the lower and higher dimensions, seeking to learn all that they can from sentience scattered through the multiverse. They eventually stumbled onto Earth and they were overwhelmed. Never had they come across a population so emotionally rich and complex in ways that defied formulaic expression. They combined their energies, each surrendering a piece of themselves to create a probe designed to wander amidst the native population, sampling its attributes and mirroring its emotional spectrum. This probe traveled through Earth, but was drawn to a woman utterly and wholly consumed with one profound desire. The probe took the shape of a baby, and this woman became a mother. Plutonian witnesses his own birth and is astounded, but this woman was troubled. She had mental problems and tried to kill herself multiple times. The baby started growing and developing powers, but his mother would find ways to test his durability. One day, she locked herself in the car with him and killed herself by gassing the inside of the car, but he survived. He was then placed into foster homes, but the foster parents were all afraid of him when they saw what he could do. Eventually, he went into the woods and lived alone for a while, becoming quite the local legend, and even receiving the name Wolf Boy. One night, another boy came looking for him, trying to hunt him, but he fought back and wanted to give him something to be afraid of. Plutonian blames his parents for the way he turned out. They allowed him to be made in the image of a broken human. It was his mother's sickness that gave him form. His parents realized something. They took him through the time stream to witness his birth and his infancy, but they did not lead him to these more recent events. He gained control of the narrative all on his own. Plutonian was getting angrier, so his parents punish him by stripping away the skin from his body, leaving his flesh exposed. He accepts their discipline. It's not something he's ever experienced before, so he bends over and asks them to do it again. He wants them to show him love. When they first came to Earth, the humans found a way to contain them by creating a massive and lethal radioactive field. Radiation doesn't affect them, and they could have escaped any time, but this field was very unstable, and any attempt whatsoever by them to move would shatter its containment, unleashing its killing energy on mankind. But now Plutonian drove the Earthlings to destroy that containment field themselves in hopes that the parents would deal with him, but in doing so, they have condemned a third of the world's population to an excruciating, poisonous death. Plutonian understands the concept of the greater good, which was a gift from the only foster father who meant a damn to him, Bill Hartigan. Out of all the dads he went through, he was the only one who seemed more excited than scared by how different he was. He taught him what it means to be selfless and put others' needs in front of his. He even made him donate his Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. His father is the one who suggested he should become a superhero and take the name Plutonian, but he also wanted him to get a regular job at the radio station and disguise himself to look different and hide his true identity. Plutonian saw that his foster mother had a brain tumor, but he didn't say anything because his dad taught him to always put personal concerns last. They later died in a car accident and he was all alone. So he became a superhero, found a mentor, and made actual friends, others not like him, super normal people who took him at face value. But there was one who saw him when he lost control that night in the forest. When he was just a kid, that stupid kid grew up and grew a grudge. He became Max Damage, a super strong, super tough criminal who existed primarily to make his new life miserable. Every time he looked in those eyes, he relived that wolf boy shame, and he wanted to kill him. But what would he have felt then? As they are talking, Plutonian is evolving. He got new senses, new powers, new perceptions. His atomic structure is rebuilding itself as they stand and talk. He wants his parents to take him with them wherever they are going. He belongs with them. But they refuse, and instead they take him into the future, to the cold and desolate place that will be his future for eternity. He feels sorry and regrets many of the actions that led him to this point, but his punishment still stands. Suddenly a portal opens and Cubit, accompanied by Max Damage, emerges, claiming he gets one last chance. After Cubit was abandoned on the Asylum prison planet, he tried to rebuild the teleportation technology, but there was nobody left to help him. Malice was pretty much useless until he realized he could use his powers to get help. By channeling and tweaking his bioenergy, he was able to use it to create a week-long loop in time and pull other versions of Cubit from the future to help him build the technology. In just a single week, he single-handedly constructed a portal back to Earth. But upon arriving back home, he quickly realized that Earth wasn't quite the world he remembered. The radiation was released by a pair of extraterrestrial beings who fought Plutonian to a standstill, then spirited him away, but he located the point of departure. He then used the teleport to go after him and bring him back safely to Earth. Cubit claims he has a plan to save everyone, but he can't do it alone. Plutonian's powers have been upgraded and he can now read his mind, but he is unable to because Cubit has added fail-safes to his mind. If he agrees to help, he promises to give him a second chance to live right. With help from Malice, he can teleport back in time to fix his mistakes, including destroying Sky City, but Max Damage didn't agree to this and chooses to leave. Meanwhile, Gilgamos brings his friends to a secret cave hidden beneath the Earth's surface, where a giant tree has been lying here for thousands of years. This is the Tree of Life from the Garden of Eden, and they came here for its seeds. In order to stop the radiation from spreading all over the world, Cubit helps Plutonian grow his powers even more, to the point where he is even able to stop the moon from spinning. He got to a point where he is able to detect in vast quantities the location of the rarer elements necessary for nuclear purification, and then, rather than mine them by hand, simply draw them out. He was able to create giant iodine spears made from elements that are designed to absorb radiation, one for each continent. Unfortunately, this doesn't work, mostly because this radiation was specifically designed as a prison for his parents, but someone knows Modius, who was a brilliant child at that time, but he helped create it. Cubit says that Modius escaped the Asylum planet with him when the portal was destroyed. He probably transferred his consciousness inside Cutter. Plutonian knows that Beth is in danger and flies to her at incredible speed, but Cubit wasn't truthful with him. Even if they find a way to stop the radiation, he can't keep his end of the bargain and send him back in time because Malice is dead. Modius, who is now inside Beth, tricks Kearney and gets him to go after Plutonian's enemies, Kaiden and Gilgamos, and kill them. He did the same to the bird-like alien, tricking him into using his sonic cry that obliterates literally anything, and then trapping him inside a small energy bomb. Modius says that Beth's energy manifested miniature gravity wells, and with a few minor chemical adjustments to her frontal lobe, she could have been the most powerful woman alive. Plutonian arrives and confronts her, claiming he can see her memories now and knows that she's actually Modius inside. Modius claims they are a perfect match and kisses him passionately, while also using a new gravity power to subdue him. Their discharge of energy is so powerful that it causes the destruction of an entire city block. Gilgamos says that the Tree of Life bears the fruit of true immortality, and everyone who eats it will live forever, just like him. Everyone will be free of disease, including radiation sickness, of aging, frozen at this moment in their lives for all eternity, with no ability to grow, no incentive to mature. Cubit tries to find Plutonian, but he can't. Something is blocking his teleportation. But that shouldn't be possible. He conquered the science already. He should be able to travel anywhere on Earth. Modius claims that Beth wasted this body. He was able to tap into her powers and make them greater. Only his genius could expand it into a wormhole tunnel of limitless range. He still doesn't have enough energy to fight him, but he can draw it from the distant stars, and for every moment he holds him down, for every blow he forces him to land on him, an entire star system dies. He knows what it takes to tame him better than anyone. He uses the gravity of entire planets to slam him against the ground and pin him down, making him unable to move. He then jumps on top of him and spreads Beth's legs, proceeding to him. Gilgamesh wants Kaiden to make the decision of using the seeds, which will make everyone on Earth immortal for eternity, but she's unsure whether it's the right thing to do. Kearney attacks them from behind, and Scylla shoots him with a powerful energy blast. Kaiden summons ghosts to her aid, claiming she doesn't need to be rescued. During the altercation, Gilgamesh drops the seeds on the ground, but he rushes to grab them, claiming he can't lose them. Modius is done, saying it was absolutely worth the wait, and if it would have been any other woman, that would have destroyed her, blown her head clean off. With their abilities combined, they could be making love in the hearts of stars. Cubit arrives and uses his teleportation to teleport her body into multiple places at once. He's had enough of him and accuses him of murdering his friend, but Modius says they're at the mercy of Mordance and drops the small bomb he created earlier. This causes a giant explosion that engulfs the entire city, obliterating everything in its path. Kurna goes all out on Gilgamesh, driven by the voices on his back, but somehow those voices are also influencing Kaiden, who can't control her ghosts anymore. Scylla grabs Kearney and drags him into the afterlife. It's the only way to stop the ghosts from attacking, but Kaiden doesn't want to lose him again. Gilgamesh immobilizes her as the two go through the portal and into another plane of existence. Cubit was able to teleport just seconds before the explosion that would have killed him, but Modius escaped as well, and the attack continues. He disables his teleportation bracelet, making him useless in hand-to-hand combat, but Cubit begs Plutonian for help. But instead of helping him, Plutonian takes Modius' side and joins him. Cubit follows a strict code of ethics and never allows himself to kill, but he has no problem asking others to do the killing for him. Plutonian wants him to make him do it. He wants Cubit to ask him to kill Modius, which he does. Plutonian does it and shoots Modius with a powerful laser beam that destroys Beth's body, but in that moment, he transfers his consciousness straight into Cubit. He's done it countless times before, taking over other people's bodies, but it doesn't work on him. Cubit implanted enough psionic shielding in his brain over the years to hold off even him. He is now trapped inside Cubit's mind, who uses this opportunity to access the information he needs about the unique nature of the radiation that is sweeping across the planet. What remains of Beth's body becomes an attractor. At the right gravitational gradient, it can absorb the poisonous radiation like a magnet. The challenge will come quite quickly in that as it absorbs radiation, it will likewise absorb mass, turning its core atoms into a baby black hole. And they don't even know if Plutonian can carry that much, but he has to. That's their bargain if he wants to be given a second chance at life and redemption. But Plutonian was able to read his mind and knows that he's lying. He knows exactly what went on at that prison planet after he was left there. How exactly is Cubit going to send him through time for a new start, since Malice was killed and left on the prison inside the sun? Cubit's exact words were, "I can turn back the clock, Tony. I can give you a second chance to live right." But he wasn't actually referring to time travel. Modius lives in his head now, and if he removes it, he will simply jump into his and they'll finally be together forever. Cubit says that he didn't kill Malice, he starved himself to death voluntarily. He also shows him the bullet made from magic candle wax, the only thing on the planet that can kill him. He then teleports it inside Plutonian's body, remarking that if he takes his mind off it for even a second, it explodes and atomizes him. He wants him to hold up his end of the bargain and save humanity. The absorption effect has a wide radius, but it's the entire atmosphere that's poisoned. Plutonian needs to travel at his maximum speed all around the world, circle every inch of the globe as fast as he possibly can, in hopes of absorbing as much radiation as possible. He does so and begins flying at lightning speed all across the world, while people watch in wonder. Kaiden finally makes up her mind and decides to drop the seeds from the Tree of Life into the ground, but Cubit arrives and stops her at the last second, claiming they can call this Plan B. New York City, Paris, Cairo, Rio de Janeiro. Everyone can see the Plutonian speeding across the sky trying to save humanity. He's going as fast as he can, and the radiation is beginning to drop, while also leaving a trail behind everywhere he goes. He gathers everything inside the small black hole made out of Beth's body and then drops it in one of Cubit's doors, which teleports it God knows where. Plutonian crashes into the ground, but something is wrong and he looks drained and old. His body is still processing the radiation. What he was carrying became so atomically dense that it collapsed into a neutron star. This radiation was specifically designed to trap his parents, emitting poisonous energy so desperate to stabilize that it sought out something nearby, invulnerable enough to contain it. Cubit builds a special device that traps him inside, while also claiming that Plutonian's mortal body won't live, but he's far more than flesh and blood. He's a golem, an idea come to life and given form, purpose, because someone wanted to believe in him. Nobody can excuse his decisions, but it's not his fault that his creator was flawed, that her mother handicapped him with her madness and her sins the moment he was born. He knew this when he made the bargain, so he opened his teleportals in ways he could barely have envisioned before he took Modius's genius into his own mind. Portals to worlds upon worlds, to hundreds of dimensions in thousands of realities. He's done this to give him a fair chance to return to his essence, a chance that someone, somewhere, in all of time and space can stumble upon the notion that is him and make it theirs and get it right. This time, Plutonian is transformed into pure energy, which is scattered across the multiverse. Somewhere else, we see a small boy running into a house, carrying a big drawing board. He goes into his neighbor's room, saying they've been looking for a character for the funny pages, like Hercules and Samson and all the strong men they ever heard of rolled into one. But better, he had an idea and began drawing something, a mighty superhero which he shows to his friend.